Greetings everybody, welcome back to another video, and in this video I want to talk about the 2023 Philadelphia Eagles and what went wrong with their team. So for the true loyal original fans that have followed my channel, right, for a while, I have done videos at this exact location in the past, and it's finally slowly starting to get a little bit warmer up here in New England, and I wanted to make an outdoor video, and there are just a few people around. But so pretty much what went wrong with the 2023 Philadelphia Eagles, because let's go back to 2022, right? Well, actually, let's go back to 2021 when the Eagles finished with a 9-8 record. They were not looking that good the first half of the 2021 season. They were up and down. I think they were like 3-6, and then they just started winning games, and there were like people yelling over there. It's not gonna stop me from making this video. But they like won. I think they only lost 2 more games ever since, and finished 9-8. And they looked really good the second half of the season, and then they lost to Tampa Bay, and in the first round, no surprise. I think it was 31-17, and then they got really good. They really drafted well. The 2022 draft, they made a lot of good free agent signings, and then they had a really good 2022 season, unstoppable. They finished number 1 in the NFC, 14-3 record. The only team that really came in their way was the 49ers. I think they finished 12-5 or 13-4. I think it was 13-4 actually. And they were they were unstoppable. And they also had a really easy schedule too, because they were playing the AFC South. So, but a lot of people were still questioning the Eagles. They're like, they have an easy schedule. How good are they really? I mean, they are, right? So it turns out they smothered everyone in their playoff path and got to the Super Bowl, only to face the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. And that was probably, as much as I hate to say it, because I despise both the Eagles and the Chiefs, so it's crazy that this is a non-biased video. But like, that was probably one of the best Super Bowls in a very long time, and it was a really fun Super Bowl. I remember watching now, and it was right. It had everything basically. Fans got a good game, except for Broncos and Giants fans like me. So, but right. But it was really good. And then obviously 2023 comes, right? It's like, well, all right, right. The Eagles will be back probably. And then like a week later, they lost both their offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator. Shane Steichen went to the Colts, and now he's training sophomore going into now, because it's 2024. He got drafted in 2023. Anthony Richardson. He is injury prone, but I think he could be a true stud for the Colts. And now, they have Shane Steichen as their head coach, and the Cardinals hired Jonathan Gannon to try to help resurrect their team. It's going to be a long reconstruction project down in Arizona, but crazy that they lost both their coordinators, and so And then people still thought, they'll be all right. They may not win 14 games. They might win 12 or 13. They'll probably win 12 games still. I mean, the Eagles still have a good roster. They brought a lot of free agents back that were set to be free agents last year. They pretty much brought a lot of good players back from the 2022 team. They brought back, what was his name? Yeah, Jason Kelsey for one more year, and then before finally officially retiring not that long ago. And yeah, right. And so, and then they drafted really well. They drafted Jalen Carter 9 overall last year, and a lot of good stuff. And we thought, well, okay, the Eagles are going to run it back, and they're going to probably go back to the Super Bowl, right? And then the 2023 season comes. I remember week 1 they were playing the Patriots, because that was like the only live game around here, because I'm from New England. I did not watch that game. I just had it on the NFL Network. But I remember the Eagles winning by like a touchdown. And as expected, because they were obviously heavy favorites going into that game. So there you go. And then I think they played Minnesota again. I think they just won by a score in their game. And then they played, I forget who they played week 3, but they started 10-1. I know week 6 they played the Jets. They were undefeated 5-0 going into week 6, right? And then they play the Jets. And what's crazy is I had the Jets winning that game with Zach Wilson. It was after Aaron Rodgers got hurt for the season, unfortunately. And I think it was the first game there. It was like four drives in, or 4 plays in. Like, I wasn't even home from either school or work. I can't remember. I was talking to someone. Yeah, right. I wasn't even home yet, and I didn't even have the game turned on yet. And I saw Zach Wilson was playing. It's like, wait, what about Aaron Rodgers, right? And then it turns out he got hurt, and it's like, oh shit. And long story short there. But I mean, literally, I had the Zach Wilson Jets beating the undefeated Eagles. That week. And obviously, a lot of people disagreed. A lot of my buddies are like, nah, right? Oh, absolutely not. There's no way. And then they win 20-14. So, and a lot of people start criticizing the Eagles right there after they lose to the Jets. They have a lot of talent on their team, other than the quarterback position, basically. And yeah, right. And then a lot of people start criticizing the Eagles right when then they fall to 5-1. And then they bounce back. They won 2 close games with Washington. Like, games they really should have lost. Like, I thought Washington was going to win one of those. One of them got taken into overtime, right? They had a close one. They split the series with Dallas, like they always do. And I think they won their home game. It was a really close game, though. Like 28-25. Or no, it was 28-23. And then the Cowboys got the ball back, and they couldn't get in. So, and then the Cowboys just blew out the Eagles like a few weeks later. There are some noises. There are obviously a lot of cars going around. I am in the public environment. So, but yeah, so that was insane. And then they did beat the Chiefs. I was happy there that day. It was a low-scoring game. And they started 10-1. So basically, ever since that Jets loss, they bounced back and they won. They started 10-1, right? They just barely beat the Bills, right? In overtime. The Bills took the Eagles into overtime. The Bills really should have won. And like, I was mad when they blew down, because I literally wanted the Eagles to lose a game, another game, and then they just barely take care of the Bills in overtime. So they start 10-1, and then week 13 comes, right? and they're at home against the San Francisco 49ers. They get annihilated, obliterated by the 49ers, which were the second best team other than the Detroit Lions in the NFC this past season. And the Lions are going to probably be in the Super Bowl next year. Like, I can't see anyone being better than Detroit next year. I hope they win it, though, because if they win it, that means the Chiefs don't win it next year. But, and then they get blown out. And then a lot of people are like, okay, the Eagles, they were tested by a really good football team. They lost. And then they only won one game ever since. They only beat the Giants at home. They split with the Giants, like they usually do. And they only beat the Giants at home. The Giants blew them out the last game of the season, like 24-9, I think. They were up 24-0. Like, I was insufferable as a Giants fan and a Broncos fan. So, but anyway, I was very happy there. But pretty much, and then they finished 11-6. They started 10-1. Then they finished with a trade going by 11-6. And then they do make the playoffs, of course. 11 wins is usually enough to get in. They get blown out by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road, 32-9. I remember that score. And it's like, wow, what happened to the Eagles? Because the first half of last season, it's like they picked off right where they left off. Just like in 2022. They start 10-1. It's like, all right, I think they started 8-0 in 2022 before losing one beyond because it's like, hey, you can't win every game, right? So you're going to lose to a weird team at some point. But yeah, so quite interesting. What happened to the Eagles, and it turns out they were just a fraudulent team coming in. Like, they won a lot of close games the first half of this past season. A lot of people were criticizing them. They're like, yeah, right, they win. They came up from behind a lot of times. The first half of the season, there should have been some more losses. They should have lost to the Bills. They should have lost at least one to the Reds, or the Commanders, right? And they should have really only won like 8 or 9 games, right? So, so the Eagles definitely overperformed last season. They won a lot of close games. A lot of people compared them to the 2020 Steelers when they started like 12-0, and then I think they lost out ever since. And then lost in the first round big time, like 38-9 or whatever, similar to the Eagles this past season. So, something like that. And then they finally got exposed when they played good teams. Like, they still beat the Bills and the Chiefs, but when they played tougher NFC opponents, they just got annihilated by the 49ers and the Cowboys. The Lions didn't play them last season. But that was quite interesting, what went down with the 2023 Philadelphia Eagles. And I think next season they could be good, but they definitely lost some talent. They lost some key players. They had to draft well again. They lost a few players to retirement. And we'll see. But that was quite interesting. Like, I was very surprised about how many people were when the Eagles just, right after that Bills win, they just went down. Yeah. So, and then lost in the first round of the playoffs, no surprise. So, that was crazy. After getting to the Super Bowl the year before. So, but yeah, so their true colors really didn't come out until the second half of the season about how good is this team really. So, and there are a lot of teams that happen to, like, I think the Vikings, a lot of people criticized in 2022. 2021, it was the Cardinals, right? 2023, it was the Eagles, right? 2020, it was the Steelers, right? They're like, this team is winning. They win a lot of close games. They come from behind, right? But how good is this team really? Can they, when they get into the playoffs, because usually 11 wins is good enough for the playoffs. How good are they actually when they play a better team in the playoffs? So, basically. So there's always that one surprise team a year. And next year, there's going to be a surprise team. Of course, it could be, usually it's from the NFC, because the AFC is stacked right now. But there's going to be an NFC team this upcoming season that is going to go on a run. They're going to win a lot of close games, come from behind, still win. They're going to get criticized. I think it's going to be the Atlanta Falcons, is my opinion. And I think the Falcons are going to be that team that they're going to win games. They have Kirk Cousins. They signed Kirk Cousins in free agency. And I think a lot of people are starting to criticize them. How good is this team really? So, when they get to the playoffs, because I do think the Falcons are going to win that division. Maybe the Bucs and then the Saints and Panthers are ass. So, but yeah, so that's what I think. So the Falcons are going to probably start like 8-2, let's say, and then finish maybe like 11-6 or something like that. Maybe 10-7. Still should be enough to win the division. But a lot of people are going to criticize them and say, well, how good is this team really? So, but yeah, so just kind of a very different video. I wanted to do a nice outdoor video about football. And then the UFL kicks off today too. And yeah, there's never a train coming by. So it's going to be quite interesting. But yeah, peace out, everybody.